Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to queue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dalien. Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. Oh,
I feel
so welcome. Yeah. Thanks for welcoming me.
I'm speaking threes today.
Yeah. Let's just stop right there because I was going to thank you for welcoming me and you're already welcoming me. So
reminds me instantly of Goodfellas, where he's going around the movie Goodfellas. For those of you who, most of you probably seen it, a lot of you, where he's going around in the beginning of the movie and he's being introduced to all the all the different gangsters and, all the people that are part of their like kind of, the Italian family or whatever. And one of the guys' names is Johnny Two Times because he says everything two times. Uh-huh. And then right after they say that, he's introduced to him. He's like, "How you doing?
Yeah. Those characters are kind of like the stereotypical mobsters that had some like funny quirk, right? Like the guy who, I guess some of those old mobsters, and I don't know if people really talked like this back then, but they would repeat the first thing of the sentence at the end. They would say something like this. See, they would say. That sort of thing cracks me up. But, hey, I was just seeing in the news, Brandy, that another talented British entertainer passed away. Actor Alan Rickman. Of course, the one thing that's been in the news for the last few days is David Bowie. But actor Alan Rickman, who played two of his famous roles, the terrorist Hans Gruber in the original Die Hard movie. Oh, yeah. The Mastermind. And his most famous and enduring role, I think now, Professor Severus Snape in the Harry Potter franchise.
Oh, wow. Yeah. He just passed away today? I didn't even know.
Just passed away at age 69 of cancer, like Mr. Bowie. Remarkable coincidence, but...
interesting.
Yeah, he will be missed. He was a very classy British actor. And
very classy. Well... Now he is taking his classy talents on to other dimensions of reality. So we wish him a wonderful journey.
Yes. Godspeed. And you've merged back with the Force or something.
Exactly. Or something. So what's going on today? Well, before I ask you what's going on today, I'll say what's going on today. I woke up and it's always sets my day on a happy foot when I see a review on iTunes, and of course, we love getting feedback, and we had a very short but sweet feedback from Frail Goddess Gwen H 1958, and it said, "We all choose to be here at this time of awakening. Love wins always. Freedom, growth, joy. Thanks for all that you do." Thank you for all that you do, Gwen H, for taking a moment out of your, I'm sure, very busy day to just give us a little positive feedback and completing the circle, as I like to put it, because we're constantly putting out here, of course, for ourselves as much as anyone else, It's a daily conscious effort. And I always say we teach best what we most need to learn. And I know I need to learn this stuff, especially even the part of the conversation today. It was funny because as soon as I started kind of putting together the podcast today, it was right after a little episode where I got a little heated with my partner Alan. and then I'm listening to this Abraham Hicks video snip that we're going to play today. And of course, it's talking all about exactly what I did. So yes, thank you for being a part of the process and completing the circle as we put this stuff out to the world, just giving us a little positive feedback because it definitely fuels us. It is, it's a wonderful thing to get feedback from you guys. And of course, we love to get more questions from the audience. You can write through in addition to this was a review on iTunes, but you can write us directly with any questions. We'd love to address them and just give you our, 2 cents for whatever it's worth on whatever you want to throw our way. We absolutely want to connect as much as possible with you, the audience. So you can certainly write us through, positivehead.com or leave us a voicemail through positivehead.com on the podcast page. So, Mr. Dalien, what do we got today in the way of mysterious news of the day?
Today, I bring you a story, Branny and everyone, a story that I almost did a couple days ago. This was a candidate, and at the last minute, I decided to go with something else. Mm-hmm. But looking for a story today, I saw it again in my feed, and looking a little bit deeper into the subject at hand, Brendan, yeah. I come to realize that perhaps there's more to the story than I originally thought.
Yeah.
It's concerning a UFO sighting near the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, Switzerland, in Europe.
Now, for people who don't know what the Large Hadron Collider is, that's basically the huge, it's multiple miles, isn't it, where we zip subatomic particles around this giant ring and smash them together to study the origins of existence and matter and so forth. So it's a pretty cool, mysterious thing that went online, a few years ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so. Indeed. What you gave there was a pretty good sort of cursory explanation of what the collider is. And actually, when researching this article, I found a couple of tidbits that were pretty interesting concerning the Large Hadron Collider. I'll quickly mention that, of course, world-renowned physicist Stephen Hawking, he said that because we are essentially, like you said, we're smashing subatomic particles together at near the speed of light.
Yeah. Right.
And scientists are doing so because that creates interactions between these particles that they can study, but they have no other known means of doing this.
Right.
So they've, of course, created this machine that essentially smashes particles together at near the speed of light, and then they can study that. So Stephen Hawking has said that this whole device and this whole system for studying matter has the potential of generating some really exotic and bizarre particles that could be like mini black holes. That's one of the things that he said.
Right. I remember when it first went active, people were like, are we going to open a black hole that swallows the Earth?
Exactly. Yes. So that was one of the things that had people concerned. Well, apparently, Brandon, like I said, researching the story a little bit more, I come to find out that perhaps there have been, and of course, they can't be proven, all of them or a lot of them, but quite a few UFO sightings in this area or in the vicinity of the Large Hadron Collider.
Interesting.
For years now. Now, this is the most recent and remarkable sighting. This just happened last month. And the footage was filmed by a couple of American tourists in Geneva of a swirling cloud in the sky, beautiful blue sky. And then there's this like amazing vortex cloud, right? That's spinning faster and faster. You see a flying object, flying up to the center of the cloud and disappearing in the middle, right?
Yeah, I just watched it before the show. As you were telling me about it before we started recording, and yeah, it's pretty fascinating because it looks like a swirling vortex of clouds going into, collapsing into a center. It's sort of like a mini cloud black hole sort of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, and the footage is remarkable. Now, one of the things that I have to mention as a quick disclaimer is that it could possibly be, of course, faked, like maybe a lot of these are, but the footage is remarkable. So it's made its way around like a lot of major news outlets. Actually, a lot of those are.
So there hasn't been anyone to prove like this is CG or some sort of because what's cool about it is not only do you have this cloud effect that looks like this vortex, but then all of a sudden you see this light. That's obviously some kind of a craft or looks like some kind of a craft. We don't know for sure, obviously, that's flying up from underneath it and then just kind of disappears into the middle of it. So it's kind of like flying through the center.
Yeah, it's the footage is remarkable enough that a lot of people are viewing it and talking about it. But one thing that it seems like it's getting lost in this whole bit of news that I found, and this was what I was going to report on. This is the bit that to me is really tantalizing, is that around the time that this thing was cited, and this was just last month, but around that same time, there was a mysterious bump in the Large Hadron Collider's particle detection.
Mm-hmm.
So coincidental? That's the thing that like seems to be very mysterious.
Adds a bit of credibility to the whole thing.
Yeah. And everyone's getting, of course, caught up in the footage of the UFO, but apparently there was a bump in the signal at the collider around the same time. So I'll read you from the article from Mysterious Universe here real quick. Well, there's the mysterious bump that physicists noticed on the graph of the signal of the Large Hadron Collider in a report released on December 15th. Adam Martin, an assistant professor of physics at the University of Notre Dame, was one of the first to spot it and wrote about his theories as to its cause in a paper released on December 23rd. So it was pretty funny. He said something like, it was so weird that people were forced to chuck their favorite theories and start from scratch.
Wow.
That's a fun area of particle physics. And then the writer of the article goes like, well, I don't know what you consider fun if we're talking about a potential mini black hole that appears. Yeah. But I'll read you here another bit. These bumps are said to be the result of two photons simultaneously hitting a detector. This is normally intentional, but this time physicists had no idea where the protons came from. Oh, wow. They speculate they could be from a graviton, a theorized particle that carries gravitational force and was thought to be massless.
Wow.
Or it could be a fluke, or it could be a previously unknown particle. The thing that's remarkable, Brandon, is that this is sort of the latest high-profile example of something like this. But it's possible that UFOs and these sort of mysterious occurrences have been going on around the LHC for a few years now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Very, very cool story. It'd be interesting to see if there's anything similar to pop up in future months and years as they continue to try new experiments with the Large Hadron Collider as well. Right?
Yes.
So very cool. Well, moving right along, I would like to take a few moments and give you guys a positive pondering breakdown of the day. And the quote that I chose for today is, "Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever." And that's Mahatma Gandhi. I really, really love this quote because it's something that I think so few of us really inject into the forefront of our consciousness, and that is the fact that we're eternal beings. You hear it and you say, yeah, we're eternal, whatever. But when you start thinking about your consciousness that makes up your being, not just getting to an end goal and it's over. It's like you're never done with this game. You never finish what you're doing. And so every bit of knowledge or wisdom or lesson learned or growth that happens in this body is going to carry forward with you into future incarnations and future selves. And I've actually heard it put, and I can't remember if maybe it was Dr. Eben Alexander in the interview with him where he talked about how as we individually grow, once we cross over, we merge back with our soul groups and we each bring back the lessons we've learned, and then the others benefit from those lessons. And then we separate again and you continue upon your journey in other realities and other existence. And so if you think of it as, if you think of it as this is eternity and you're never going to be done with what you're doing, and everything that you're working towards it's not going to go to waste if you die at, 90 years old. It's going to carry forward those lessons. So you're in a permanent unfolding, and everything that you do matters towards the ongoing journey that never ends. So as we ascend as vibrational beings, it's not just about let me graduate college and get the good job and then it's all done and it's over and everything is lost. Nothing is lost. Everything goes on for eternity. And when you start to approach your life from that perspective, first you can relax into it a little bit more. There is no giant hurry to get anything done or to be anywhere. You're perfect right where you are at all moments. And take the long view. And when it comes to your growth and your learning, I'm never going to stop. This is something that once I grow from this particular lesson or this particular, approach, I'm going to carry it forward forever. And in my sort of toolbox of understanding and expansion, expansion of my own personal awareness and consciousness. There's a video that someone shared with me not too long ago, and it was a guy, and he was holding a rope, and he was talking about how the rope is eternity and how our life is this little segment on the very tip of it. And he was making jokes how like, if I can just get to this part in the rope and it's just like a centimeter down, then, I'll have all the money in abundance that I need and I can retire. And, all you're focused on is this little segment, and that's all you're thinking about in the context of your existence, is this tiny speck that's on this giant long rope that really never ends. And you're so caught up on where you get next month or next year or, retirement or any of those sorts of goals. It's like, I suggest that everyone take a step back. If you could zoom out on your life and see it from a bird's eye view and see that it is never going to end in either direction, then you can take a whole new approach to how you deal with the lessons and deal with your own self-growth and self-education.
Yeah, that was really good, Brandon. And that quote is one that I love quotes like that seem to bridge the gap between what I would call a divine dichotomy. And that whole idea is one that, I was exposed to a long time ago with the Conversations with God books.
Right.
Or you could use the word divine duality or maybe even a paradox. They
highly recommended books, by the way. Yes,
absolutely. But the concept that something, and it's, really in a way something that you've talked about before and that we already referenced today, the concept that we're doing the whole podcast for ourselves and also for our audience. If you understand, like you always say, the concept that we're all one, but we're separate, that can appear like a paradox or a contradiction, but it's ultimately true. And the thing is, you can operate at the level of pure appearances where we all appear to be separate. So that gives you one experience.
Yep.
If you go deeper, you get a whole different kind of experience. But I love how these kind of quotes marry these seeming opposites into a whole that can really bring you, deeper peace, more wisdom, and just more grace in living your life. Like the concept that we are eternal, and at the same time we do have a very finite, concrete, limited experience here on Earth. Mm-hmm. So I think that really being aware of both, like you said, and knowing how to sort of instinctively, and in a way that makes sense to you in your life, to marry those two opposites into, like the quote says, relax into the eternity of your being in a way. Mm-hmm. Know that you will be okay. Know that, that you have all the time in the world, in a sense, but at the same time, you don't. You don't have all the time in the world. So, a realization like that is meant to, in my opinion, is just meant to make it all more precious, right?
Right.
It's meant to bring you a reminder of the, ephemeral nature of things, how you need to really seize the moment, appreciate things as they are right now, because they will never be like that again.
Right.
And these are some of the things that your quote helps me understand more.
Yeah. And in an effort to continue to understand and expand on this concept, I'm going to call in the big guns.
Ooh.
And when I say that, I mean Abraham Hicks, who we often will play a piece of. And for those of you who aren't too familiar, Esther Hicks is a woman who claims to channel non-physical group entity that refers to itself as Abraham as it comes through her. And I always say when referring to these sorts of ideas of concepts of channeling and so forth, it doesn't really matter to me whether it's happening or not happening. At some level, it's all connected. I do believe that wholeheartedly. And we're all inspired whenever anything of high vibration is coming through. I believe, even whether it's music or art or in any type of art, it's inspiration. It's in spirit. You're connected to something. You're channeling that art. You're channeling, people like Mozart and people like that have talked about this. I don't do anything. It's coming through me. So this is the same kind of thing. In her case, words are her art form. And she is, claiming to channel this entity, Abraham. All I care about is the content ultimately. And the content is absolutely awesome. Everything that comes out of her mouth, I just, gives me tingles. I love it. It's so this particular snippet or piece of one of her workshops or talks I found it on a YouTube page. Everyone is God is the YouTube page. And it's called Abraham Hicks, Making Peace with Your Eternal Beingness. Let's take a listen.
So, we are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. We've noticed that you have dragged your physical bodies here. And that's a good thing, but your physical bodies are only a part of all that you are. Whether you know it or not, or whether you even want to know it or not, you're vibrational beings. And you are, in this physical format, extensions of an eternal consciousness, a source energy point of view that has expressly presented itself here into this physical experience. So you began as source energy, but you remain as source energy even though you are here focused in this physical body. Most people, you're a little different than most people, don't get that. Most people don't get that. Most people think that they were non-physical. They call it soul or angel, or I came from heaven and here I am, but I'm here now, not there. And that's not true. You are source energy always. And that source energy is focused here in this physical body. And we want you to know that in you coming into this body, you didn't come without the larger part of you. The larger part of you came too. The larger part of you is present here in this time-space reality. The larger part of you is here now. And to the degree that you are in sync vibrationally, then you get the full representation of who you are. So how do you feel in a moment when the fullness of who you are is being allowed by you on the airplane? They're really, 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 really serious about those phones. Anything that has an on switch, turn it off, they say. When you realize that you are source energy in these physical bodies, and that the source energy part of you is always here with you, to the degree that you allow it through the syncing of the vibration, you have a fuller experience. In other words, how would you know when you're allowing the fullness of who you are to flow? You feel really good. You feel frisky. You feel clear-minded. You feel flexible. You feel intelligence. You feel all-knowingness. You feel intuitiveness. You feel harmony. You feel love. You feel appreciation. You feel tuned in, tapped in, turned on. You feel the fullness of who you are. And when you pinch it off, and it's easy to do because it's easy to get out of sync with source. All you have to do is get mad at somebody. You're out of sync with source. All you have to do is not like yourself a little. You're out of sync with source. All you have to do is nitpick over some unimportant thing and make something that isn't important important. In other words, as you focus lackfully, you're always out of sync with source. As you focus critically, you're always out of sync with source. So what's up with source? Does source have no discerning ability? Is source just blinded by love? Pretty much. Does source always need to find the positive aspects? Can source not be objective enough to see that something is screwy with that? Well, it isn't that source doesn't see the screwiness. It's just that source accepts the screwiness as not wrong, as not threatening. Source sees the variety in contrast. Source just, and you may want to write this down because it is profound beyond profound. Source just doesn't freak out. Source doesn't find unimportant things and use it as the excuse to pinch itself off from the source of source. In other words, and when you reach that place where you really get it, that everything is all right, and that every contrasting experience is just right in its providing desire. Do you accept that you are eternal beings? Oh yeah, blah, 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 Abraham, yeah, we're eternal. Eternal, 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 we're eternal, we get it, we're eternal, 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 eternal. But do you get it that you are eternal beings? Oh yeah, we get it, Abraham. We're eternal. We're eternal, eternal, eternal. I want to talk about my car, please. Those people at work are really getting to me, Abraham. Can we talk about that? Something a little more, less eternal. But the reason that we want you to know that you are eternal is because you, in your eternalness, are so at one with this variety in which you are focused, because you know that the variety in which you are focused is giving birth to new preferences, and that's a big deal to an eternal being. Because if you're eternal, you need new ideas. If you're eternal, there must be something new to call you forward. And if there's not something new to call you forward, then you can't be eternal. And you can't have it both ways. You can't be eternal and not be eternal. You're eternal. We're just trying to make you accept the fact that there will always be variety that will always cause you to ask for something more. So when you make peace with the variety that is causing your expansion, as the source within you has made peace with the variety that is causing your expansion, then you'll be like source and you won't freak out either in the contrast. Instead, you will accept the contrast as a wonderful, life-giving, life-promoting, eternally promoting thing, you see. And when you make peace with the eternalness of that which you are, have you? Oh yeah. We know, we ask you to focus beyond what is normal in your humandom. But when you do focus beyond what is normal, when you get your eyes on the big picture, and you accept that you are source energy here, reveling in this powerful moment. Now, how can you be eternally focused and focused here in this powerful moment? Abraham, make up your mind. I'm either eternal or I'm in this body. And we say, when you get it that you are both, when you get it that there is a blending that is taking place, and that in this powerful now, you have the ability to focus the wholeness of who you are into this moment, so that when you're having a conversation with someone, in your complete alignment with the wholeness of who you are then evoking the best from them. In your complete alignment with who you are, you're feeling the best in this moment. Your body is thriving the most in this moment. In other words, you didn't come here to be partially alive. You came here as life to express itself in this moment and in this moment and in this moment, to revel in the beauty of your planet and the beauty of the others with whom you share it. You came to revel in life, not to fix broken things, because as we have just been saying to you, Source does not acknowledge anything as broken, just as always expanding. So we say in simple terms, you can't get it wrong and you never get it done. And the reason you can't get it wrong is because it's never done. So if in this moment it feels sort of wrong, it isn't wrong, it's just not done. And in what feels like wrongness to you, there's a new rightness that's being born. And that rightness is the new expansion that is being born. So as you accept that you are always eternally expanding, then it sort of takes the sting out of standing in a place where the contrast is showing you something that you don't want. And what we want to convince you of today, we are determined to do it. We will give you everything that we and Esther have in order to help you understand that if you can accept that in this moment, right here and now, whatever the moment is, wherever you are, on the elevator, in traffic, making love, moving through your life, in whatever way that you are, in every moment in time, there is this juncture where you meet you. And to the degree that you understand that and want to let the fullness of you be there in that moment, then your new decision, your newfound decision that you will leave here with today will be this: I am source energy in a physical body. And the emotion that I strive for is my manifestation of the juncture of that source and me. You have the ability to be fully focused in any moment. You can be fully alive or you can pinch yourself off. And to the degree that you focus upon good feeling things, you train yourself into that full aliveness. And then a wonderful thing happens. A wonderful acknowledgement occurs to you. And that acknowledgement is, you no longer have to demand of others that they behave or perform in specific ways in order to make your life better. You give up the impossibility of trying to control the uncontrollable, and you begin at once to control the only thing that really is controllable and the only thing that matters, and that is your own personal, in this moment, manifestation of an emotion that feels good to you. You can do that, and you can do it now. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt, however, and say you can do it, and you can do it within 10 minutes. You can bring yourself into alignment within 10 minutes every time. And when you show yourself that, then you're finally free. You're free of everything that ever bound you. Everything that has ever felt binding to you has always and only ever been that one thing. That one thing where you have chosen something in your now to use as your excuse to pinch yourself off from the fullness of who you are. And in pinching yourself off, you feel bound, and then you want to give whatever the object of your attention was that caused you to give it the reason, the excuse for pinching yourself off. When you choose those things and you say, you are the reason that I can't feel good, then you are bound. When you say, oh, there is no reason for me to have pinched myself off because I now have full knowledge that I can, within 10 minutes, bring myself into alignment with who I am, then you are finally free. And then you'll be friskily moving through this life experience in good feeling moment after good feeling moment. And people who are watching you will say, what drug are you on and where did you get it? And you'll say, I'm on a natural drug. I've discovered that my physical body is a veritable chemical factory, and that when I get into an emotional place where I feel good, everything in my body works toward releasing everything that is good feeling. And they will say, well, it's obvious to me that you are on something. What is it? And you'll say, it's a very long story. But I can give you a quick version. I just decided to be happy. And they'll say, you are on something, you just won't admit it. You just won't admit it. We are eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. It is our intention to drag you kicking and screaming into the vortex. You know, this vortex that we talk about? This vibrational state of being where everything that you are is, everything that you have become vibrationally is. What do you want to talk about? Stuff.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, you know, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you. So, of course, Abraham, as always, never fails to deliver, putting it in words in ways that really just, elevate your vibration. Anyone listening, I'm sure your vibration, if it was elevated prior to this, little 10-minute or so talk. It's more so now. I mean, let's, just to kind of touch on some of the things that were discussed. Your source energy, really realizing your source energy is focused in this physical body. That's what you are. You're not, human being trying to have some sort of a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. And the larger part of you is always here and now. And, she talked about how you would feel if you're always feeling the fullness of who you are. And whenever we focus on, fall into critical or thoughts of lack, we're out of sync with this higher aspect part. It's kind of like disconnecting from source, right? Because source doesn't understand any of that. Source is, as she put it, blinded by love. Source accepts the screwiness as not wrong or threatening. Source doesn't freak out. And when I referenced earlier my own, I had a mini freak out this morning, or, it was very mild, but getting agitated about something that was so unimportant in the grand scheme of things. And, after hearing this, of course, I realized, wow, source doesn't find unimportant things as an excuse to freak out. And you start to realize and move into the space of every contrasting experience being just right. And of course, having eternity, there's always going to be a variety, which makes us ask for more, which gives us these new opportunities. And it's just such a powerful concept to get down and to space to move into. You talked about the divine dichotomy, Dalien, and there's a blending taking place. You are separate on one hand, there is that perspective, and you are one with the source. And what I believe Abraham is talking about here is moving more into the front and center of your consciousness, of your awareness, that perspective of the connectedness to the source and to all things, instead of, whereas most people's, if they're aware of their divine nature or this, any sort of soul sort of concept, it's like that's 1% of their consciousness, and 99% of their consciousness is this separate character or avatar that they make up, the egoic, self that's in this body that's going at it alone against the world. Well, what this is really suggesting is flipping that. How about 99% realizing that you're connected to all that you see, and everywhere you go, you're there waiting for yourself. It's another part of self. And, moving into that perspective is the ultimate game changer. And I love how she says, you can bring yourself into alignment within 10 minutes. When you realize this, you're finally free. And that's what the experience I had this morning. I got tweaked about something that was really so unimportant in the grand scheme of things. And I then proceeded to listen to this, laughed at myself. Within 10 minutes, my vibration is completely elevated again. Here we are now using that as a story, or, an example of course, me always needing to learn this stuff first and foremost before teaching it. And but it's really, really, this is the most powerful thing I believe any of us can do for ourselves. You no longer are demanding others to perform in any way, she talked about, because instead you're focused on your own emotions. That's the only thing you can ever control. It's all you can ever do. The good news is that's enough. That's all you need. And if you get that down, everything else becomes so much simpler, and life flows so much more gracefully and easily, and the things that you want come to you.
Yeah, I think the key word, which you did mention there, was aware. And of course, if we are talking about, consciousness and all these mysterious things that we love to discuss here, the common factor is consciousness. And I think an entity like Abraham Hicks wouldn't argue that consciousness is everything. But that being the case, then your own individual consciousness is everything to you. And so that's why it's so important to manage your vibration, to be aware of what you're aware of, to be self-conscious, to be awake. To always be looking
at yourself and saying, what vibrational frequency am I resonating with now?
Yes.
What song am I playing with my being?
Definitely. And I see this as another sort of marrying of seemingly contradictory opposites that aren't really ultimately contradictory. But for example, how does knowing about the, timeless and multidimensional part of myself help me in the here and now? Well, again, if you wanted to look at things on a very sort of surface level and live life, like you said, chasing after the next thing, the next job or person or thing, external things, you could live your life like that. But what is the purpose of making you aware that you're a timeless being, that you're much larger than you think you are, and all these things? It's not really to disrupt your everyday life,
but to put them in context, right?
Exactly.
Like how unimportant is it really that it unfolds exactly as you would prefer it to?
Yes, exactly. We have, I think in episodes not too, far removed, like recent episodes, we've talked about how if you had a full awareness of all these things at once, it would just short circuit you. You wouldn't be able to function if you were, aware of all these multidimensional parallel realities and all your alternate selves. So there's a very good reason why things are the way they are. But at the same time, these sort of nuggets of a larger reality or little glimpses of a larger reality are meant to help you expand your framework and grow in a way that is ultimately meant to serve you. Because if you are completely caught up in the surface layer of reality, if, what you see is all that you give credence to and you're very materialistic and, again, there's no judgment in living like that, but you're depriving yourself of so much.
Yeah.
And that's what we're finding out now. People are opening their eyes and seeing what it is that they've been missing, or rather they're noticing that something's been missing and they're searching for it now. But I think that's part of it is really having this larger context and integrating it in a way that serves you. So that, like you said, when we have, whether it's a minor challenge or really one of the biggest ones in life that we all face that tend to, they're so easy to distract us and pull us down into negativity. The loss of a job, they say divorce is a major, traumatic event in anyone's life, right? And with divorce rates being so high, you see how there's a lot of people that are struggling to integrate their experiences in a larger framework. Mm-hmm. But I think that this would only help us in the end. So, yeah.
Right. And yeah, exactly. When you can understand that, take the divorce example, any being that you are separating from, let's say you've been with and you've shared intimate experience and, obviously a very significant character in your story, you can never really lose anyone or anything. You have eternity. That rope that I was referencing is unending. So we can only take breaks from one another. So when you can kind of bring that into your consciousness, for me personally, it kind of softens the blow of thinking of, the passing of a loved one eventually and ultimately is going to happen, or myself, or, separating from someone that I love dearly. We can only take vacations from each other. You can never lose anyone or anything. And if you can relax into, I guess, the eternal nature of things, you can relax in this now. And by relaxing into this now, you bring your presence, and the now is a present. And when you bring your presence, you bring your full power into the moment. And this is where you can create magic from. Fully present source energy, focused in the now. And the now is all that is. So
yes.
With that being said, everyone, we're getting down to it. Thank you, as always, for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into the Positive Head podcast. We're going to leave with a song today, I believe.
Yeah, what do you have for us, Brian? You picked a beautiful track.
A song, an artist that I recently came across. I'm going to be attending Envision Festival for the second time at the end of February in Costa Rica, and actually doing an interview coming up next week with Justin Brothers, one of the founders of Envision Festival. It's one of my favorites of all the transformational festivals. It's just so amazing. And this particular artist is on the lineup. And as I often do, before heading to a festival or something that I'm planning to go to, I check out the musical lineup for artists that maybe I don't know. And this was one of those. This is, and I really, really have liked what I've heard so far. So I thought I would go ahead and share a track. The name of the artist is Elephant Revival. The particular song is Sands of Now. How appropriate. And this is from their Live at the Boulder Theater release that it was actually recently, a few months back, I believe, put out there to the world. So I hope you guys enjoy the Sands of Now as much as I do. Otherwise, if you have enjoyed this positive download from our hearts and minds to yours, please take a minute, give us a rating or review on iTunes. Since iTunes is the holy grail of all things podcasting, your good reviews help us to reach more listeners. Also, we would be extremely appreciative if you would tell your friends and family about the show. Our sincere intent with the Positive Head podcast is to spread positivity to the world because we're selfish, quite honestly. I say that jokingly, but really only halfway joking. I'm referring to the good kind of selfish based on the knowing that we all get what we give in this life, because when we give, we're actually always giving to extensions of self, since we're all really one in the same consciousness, just in different bodies. So if you want to be a good selfish along with us by helping to spread the positivity, by all means, please proceed to shout about the Positive Head podcast from your rooftop. Otherwise, as you continue on your fabulous journey in this 3D reality, be sure to remember this. As long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Journey well, everyone, and thank you for being.
Seems we come this far, yeah. Come this far, yeah. The sky is a wishing well. The stars are a stone's throw away. A stone's throw away. We're moving out from under. Over now, we're gonna jump in the rivers, we coming down. Time is the gap we are closing, the books of our past, the books of our past. The future's a looking glass shattered, to broken glass scattered across the sands of the now. We're moving out from under. Jump in the rivers, we coming down. Seems we come this far, yeah. Come this far, yeah. The sky is a wishing well. The stars are a stone's throw away.